This week I'm joined by Chris McCann again from Blevins, and we'll be looking at how to choose which investments to buy. With so many options available, you may find it hard to choose which is best for you. But Chris will advise us on how to overcome this. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm very well, thanks, Howard. And yourself?
I'm very well.
Good.
Well, there must be thousands of investment products to choose from, and so much information available. On the surface, having such a choice in data may sound like a good thing. But is it?
Well, Howard, we live in a world where the number of investment choices has risen exponentially over recent years. In 2002, there were around 30,000 managed investment products to choose from. But since then, over the following 2 decades, the number of choices has grown exponentially to more than 742,000 products, which were recorded last year. I'm all for choice, but people tend to become overwhelmed when presented with too many options. Making a decision can be difficult, and making an important decision based on a seemingly limitless list of options is harder still.
How does an investor overcome this?
When it comes to investing, without expert guidance, having too much choice will likely hinder you rather than help you. Today, investors are exposed to more information than any previous generation. Data, research that's only been available to financial professionals is now freely accessible. This deluge of information, while offering greater transparency, does not necessarily provide greater knowledge and understanding. More likely, it gives us a sense of uncertainty about what information can be trusted and relied upon. Having worked hard to set aside funds to invest, you don't want to be faced with a vast amount of investment options, where the research only seems to lead you further down the rabbit hole. A description of this type of situation is analysis paralysis, ultimately leading to decision paralysis, a situation where the sheer volume of options available prevents us from being able to make an informed decision in fear of choosing the wrong path. With an increase in options, the need for specialist financial advice is more important than ever. As of next year, Blevins Franks will have been advising clients for 50 years in both the UK and Europe. Our advisors live locally and understand the local tax regime, regulations, and investment opportunities. And in combining investment advice with a holistic tax and estate planning strategy, we can typically ensure that you avoid going down the rabbit hole and instead ensure you take advantage of the financial opportunities that are right for you.
What are all the benefits of using a professional financial advisor for help with setting up and running an investment portfolio?
Well, look, the benefits are many, in that as your advisors, we can help you to achieve higher long-term real-life rates of return than the average investor. We're not shooting the stars out of the sky here, but higher real-life rates of return than the average investor. Now, as regards how we can do this, we endeavour to have clients follow 6 basic investment principles. And I'm going to go through these very briefly. 3 are attitudinal and take place inside the mind of the investor. The first is faith in the future, which is the only worldview that squares with the historical record. In other words, long-term pessimism is deeply counterintuitive and rarely profitable. The second is patience. We live in an age of late-breaking market news, which typically places investors under considerable pressure to do something. But the more an investor gives in to the fads and the fears of the moment, the more they tend to lose sight of their long-term financial goals, the more mistakes they make, and the more their long-term return falls. The third is discipline. Whilst patience dictates the decision not to do something, discipline is the decision to keep doing the right thing. The undisciplined investor reacts, and they allow their long-term investment plans to be derailed by anybody, a friend, event, and their plan inevitably fails. The three remaining principles are practices or methods of managing a portfolio. The first is asset allocation. In the long run, timing and selection of investments have very little to do with portfolio returns. Instead, a far greater determinant is asset allocation. Over an investing lifetime, the big swing in portfolio returns typically comes from what percentage of your holdings you have in equities. Looking at the long-term returns of different asset classes confirms that the higher exposure you have to equities, the higher your overall returns. The second step is to get broadly diversified. Diversification involves the spreading of risk and reward across and within an asset class. Disciplined diversification, in its essence, means you'll never own enough of any one thing to make a killing in it, and you'll never own enough of any one thing to be killed by it. The third and last portfolio practice is rebalancing the portfolio. Moving the portfolio back to the original weightings on an annual basis will always improve portfolio performance. In summary, having a Blevins Franks advisor will ensure that your portfolio has a suitable asset allocation, is broadly diversified, and is regularly rebalanced. Your advisor will also ensure that you remain optimistic, patient, and disciplined. And taken together, following the 6 principles should ensure that clients earn the returns that they will need to fund their most important lifetime goals with the minimum expenditure of time, energy, and stress.
And what about choosing which advisor to use? Can you give some tips to our listeners here in Spain?
I can. When looking for an advisor covering a range of services, the size and longevity of the firm is important. A firm with a history of longevity gives you peace of mind that they're likely to be there for as long as you need them. The larger the firm, the more specialists they will have covering the various services that you will likely need. They also have more resources to apply effective compliance procedures to ensure regulatory rules are adhered to, which protects clients. They will also be in a position to keep on top of regulatory changes, analysing how clients are affected and coming up with compliance solutions where necessary. In combination with size and longevity, it's also important to ensure your advisor has professionals with officially recognised qualifications. Investing, pensions, estate planning, and taxation are all very technical areas that require specialist understanding. And finally, you need to choose a firm that is authorised to provide advice in Spain and abides by national and international regulations. All I would say is here at Blevins Franks, we meet all these criteria, and so if listeners require advice, they should contact one of our local advisors.
And the website has all the information.
It does. Listeners can visit our website, blevinsfranks.com. They will be able to get all the contact details of their local Blevins Franks partner. And if so, they will be able to complete a contact form, and somebody from Blevins Franks will be in touch to suggest the most appropriate next steps.
Many thanks, Chris. We'll talk again soon.
I look forward to it, Howard.